Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Sponsored by Michael Zuckerman. Yurzite. Tzvi Yaakov ben Pesach Yehuda Zechron Brocha. Mr. Howard Zuckerman Zechron Brocha. Shom should have an Aliyah. By Yitzy Schleifer. Mendy. Whose Yurzite was it that we just said? There's no talking during Yurzites. Yitzy Schleifer, Refua for Baruch Eliezer ben Fruma Gittel. Sponsored by Yitzy Schleifer. Refua for Baruch Eliezer ben Fruma Gittel. Mendy, who's the Refua for? Anonymously by Kalman. Ooh. Tehillim needed. A name has been added to Josh Skirnek of Josh's Pizza. If I think I understand who that is. Is that the place that burnt down? Does anybody know? The best pizza ever. Mamish, the best. It's mamish like pizza time. I think he worked at pizza time. Please daven for Chaim, Yehoshua, Aryeh, Leib, ben Masha. So one of these names, Chaim, I guess, was added. Yeah.
Yesterday I went to
Roy Neuberger, yeah.
I told him the story that happened that you said in share, and he said, Eli Stefansky, is that Refua Stefansky's brother? I love him so much. I said, yes, it was in honor of Refua Stefansky and Eli Stefansky. He works out 200 seconds.
Who is this? Roy Neuberger? You're writing a book?
I'm writing a book with him, and he's a famous writer from Central Park to Sinai, 20.
Yishkoyach Roy Neuberger. I will pocket this money for myself. All right. This is from Binyamin K. Rabbi Stefansky, you are the reason I started the daf. Each evening I see my father at the dining room table bent over his Gemara and learning from your YouTube shir. When my father made us see him at home on Masech Eruvin, I decided that I wanted to be part of this too. Although I'm a 9th grader who just started yeshiva, I use whatever free time I have to take out my Gemara and learn the daf from your shir. Mamish, beautiful. This is a real email. I'm on track with Masechtas Pesachim, but since I started late, I'm really far behind with other Masechtas I missed from the beginning of the cycle. I try to catch up by learning Masechtas Brochas whenever I can with you as well. For some reason, I can't seem to find Daf 39 of Brochas on YouTube. Is it on there? Yosef was on top of it. He sent him the link. I'm not sure. I mean, he got to 39 already. It's unbelievable. I'm not sure if any others are missing as well. Is there any way to please send me a link to all your shiurim? There's some other way to access them all. Did you tell them about the... No, we have an app. All daf. Kol Shon. Torah anytime. Podcast. He doesn't have a smartphone. He has a computer at home. I really enjoy learning the daf each day, and you make it possible. Thank you so much for helping me start this special journey. I hope to be able to finish Shas with you. From Binyamin K. Unreal. So it's beautiful. Binyamin, beautiful. One day here in Beis Medrash Binyamin. A message from Joey Shatkis, the doctor. I want to thank everyone for the patience and get used to updating people about Shira. This week, a lot of people asked, what's with this woman that we said Tehillim for? So it's a very long one, but basically, it's a month since Shira ruptured brain aneurysm. In 1 month, Shira has had some highs and some pretty lows. Thank Hashem, Shira is no longer in a coma. Though she's frequently asleep, she's able to be awake and aware for longer periods of time, is able to obey some commands when prompted. Although this isn't always consistent, she's working hard to gain strength and command of her body while trying to avoid setbacks such as infections. As you can imagine, her body isn't working incredibly hard to heal itself. It's also extremely nonlinear, each day varies. It goes without saying that this is all in Hashem's hands. I truly believe Hashem hears you all. The tefillos and the good deeds are working. It's slow going, but Shira is making progress. I'm still in awe of all the goodness and light that has come from this very dark situation. I've come to be extremely dependent on all of your tefillos. I don't think Shira could have made it this far without them, but there is still a very long road ahead, and while headed in a positive direction, Shira is still in dire need of your tefillos and acts of kindness. I've always seen the power of our community to come together, and I only ask they continue to pray and continue to do good merit in good merit, to do good in merit of a full recovery for Shira. Shkoyach Tak. So now we have an update, and the Olam could continue saying Tehillim. Today is Daf Kuf. Regardless of what I might have said yesterday, I don't know, I didn't look back, but it's very possible that I didn't say it correctly. So let's go over this quickly. We're talking about in the Mishnah, when do you have to stop eating Erev Pesach? And then the Gemara spoke about Erev Shabbos. The Gemara says, Machlokes. According to Rabbi Yossi, you could, on Erev Shabbos, you could eat all the way up to the night. So let's say this is the night, nightfall right over here, you could eat all the way. According to Rabbi Yehuda, you would have to stop. Now, Erev Pesach, everybody agrees, Rabbi Yossi also agrees, Samach LaMincha, meaning, Mincha is when you bring the Mincha. When you makriv the Mincha. When do you makriv the Mincha? 2.5 hours before Shkia. I might have said yesterday 3. I did. Okay, so the Tamid, sorry. Carbon Tamid, there's no such thing as Carbon Mincha. Carbon Tamid, that's why we say, we daven Mincha at that time. It's called Mincha Ktana. That's the second time. So, Shkoyach for not fixing me yesterday. What were you doing? Playing on your phone yesterday? Problem. Shkoyach. When I need you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'akol niyeh b'dvaroi. Yeah, but we're not talking about that one. We're talking about Tfilas Mincha that coincides with Carbon Tamid. Now, so again, the Carbon Tamid, we had this in there's a parak in this Masechta, believe it or not, called Tamid Nishchat. And it tells us the time that the Tamid was Nishchat, Daf Nun Ches, if you want to look at the first Mishnah. And you shecht it at 8.5 hours, you bring it at 8.5 hours, you shecht it at 9.5 hours, meaning 9.5 hours into the day, 1, 2, 3, 9.5, which is right over here during the 10, we're 9.5 hours into the day, which is 2.5 hours before Shkia. This is Shkia right over here. Maybe I should have made a little thing. Shkia, 9.5. So 2.5 hours before Shkia, that's when the makri of the carbon, Tamid. That's Mincha Ktana. So, Samach LaMincha is a half hour before that. We're going to add a half hour to be machmer because of the Doraisa of Matzah. We're going to 9 o'clock, to 9 hours after the beginning of the day. So right over here. Samach LaMincha is a half hour before. Okay. So we are holding, if we want, we can back it up just slightly to 6 lines before the bottom of Tzadik Tesam Beis. Just this little chazar, this is a very short daf today. Ube'erev Shabbos, Samach LaMincha, Shari. What? You're permitted to eat food at 9 hours into the day. In other words, 3 hours before Shkia. You're not allowed to eat from 9 all the way to 9. So you have to add this extra half hour on Erev Shabbos. You should have an appetite when you come into Shabbos. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi doesn't care. Rabbi Yossi says go all the way up to here, up to Shkia, no problem. As you said yesterday, Pesach is different because of the mitzvah deraisa of matzah. This is where we got to yesterday. Who told you that this brisa is accurate when it says 9? Maybe the brisa is 9:30. 9.5 hours into the day, in other words, 2.5 hours into before Shkia, and it lines up with what we're talking about. It's either Mireimar or Yemar. I happened to be there by the shir or of Pinchas Bereder Avami. V'kam Tana, and there was one of those speakers, the people that repeats over what the Tana says, what V'tana and Meturgamon, V'tani Kamei. And he said exactly this brisa as we have it here. In other words, 9 hours. You have to give Shabbos an extra half hour. You cannot have tayameha. You can't have all that food. You can't have a su'udah g'dayla. We're 3 hours before Shkia. It's kind of significant. And everything's good. So then what do you tell me? The brisa is meshubash. That's a problem. The brisa, maybe the brisa only meant 2.5 hours before Shabbos? No, he said 3, and he's okay with it. If that's the case, that the Bryce is correct, that on Shabbos, Erev Shabbos, you must stop eating 3 hours before Shabbos, then what's the difference between Shabbos and Pesach? And that's the Gemara's question yesterday. It says, Erev Pesachim samach lemincha le'echalav shetechshach. It's a special halacha about Erev Pesach. This halacha applies also to Erev Shabbos. Why is the Mishnah discussing Erev Pesach? It should say, all Yomim Tovim, all Shabbosim, you must stop eating at 9 hours into the day. It seemed like that was a special halacha about Erev Pesach that we added a half hour. And on Shabbos, you go to 2.5 hours. But he's masking that it's 3 hours before. Elo, machvartok, the Rav Huna. Yesterday we had the Teretz. Rav Huna says that our Mishnah, that there's an afkamina between Shabbos and Pesach. Our Mishnah goes according to Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi, anytime there's a machlek between Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yehuda, the halach is like Rabbi Yossi, Nimukoy Imay. We're going to see soon, the Gemara calls him Berebi, the Galadar. Shabbos, you could go 2.5 hours before Shabbos. Or Shabbos is not a thing. Erev Pesach is a special halacha, according to Rabbi Yossi, that we go 3 hours before Pesach. Says the Gemara, how does that make sense? Well, Ravuna Minicha, does it fit in? V'amar Rabbi Yirmiyah, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Right, nothing. Right, according to Rabbi Yossi, it's not a thing. V'amar Rabbi Yirmiyah, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, v'teimer Rabbi Avo, Amar Rabbi Yossi, bar Rabbi Chanina. Halacha, Rabbi Yehuda, Berev Pesach. The halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda, l'chayra, that's what it means. It doesn't say what. Halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda, what? We're going to say, according to what we know up until now, that you have to stop samach lemincha, a half hour before mincha. Give it an extra half hour. Halacha, Rabbi Yossi, Berev Shabbos, that there's nothing. You keep on going all the way till tzeis. You keep on going until shkia. Says Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda Berev Pesach, Michlal, the Polag Rabbi Yossi B'Tarvayu. It seems like Rabbi Yossi does not agree that Pesach is different. Who's Rabbi Yehuda arguing on? Rabbi Yehuda, the halach is like Rabbi Yehuda versus somebody else that's fighting with him, that's arguing with him. Must be that Rabbi Yossi doesn't agree with Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion that on Erev Pesach you must stop eating 3 hours before Shkia. According to Rabbi Yossi, it's like Erev Shabbos. Keep on going. Go all the way into the Seder. Eat as much as you want. What's the problem? Says the Gemara, Loi. Halacha miklal debli hafsaka. There's another machlokes. Something we didn't discuss at all. Hafsaka. So what's hafsaka? If you're in the middle of eating your meal, you started over here somewhere. You started beheter. All the way here. And your meal keeps on going all the way to Shkia. A gesunte meal. You started beheter. Now what do? You have 3 options. You could either keep on going, green light, just keep on going, eat. What about Kiddush? It's Shabbos now. You started Friday, you had a meal like on Purim. We had it on Purim. You started a Suda, nothing to do with Shabbos. You're going and eating, all of a sudden, oops, it's dark. What do you do now? So Rabbi Yossi is of the opinion you keep on going, just keep on eating. What do you do about Kiddush? You make Kiddush later. After the Suda is over, what do you sit and make Kiddush? Or, as we're going to see, the concept called Paris Mappa. You just take a tablecloth and you cover the food, and that's like sort of a hefsek in the middle of the Suda, and you make Kiddush. Or, extreme, you pick up the table and you move it out of the room. In those days, they had tiny little tables. Everybody had their own personal TV dinner table kind of thing. Move it out of there. That's a real hefsek. And you make Birkas Hamazon. You stop the Suda. It's a full-fledged stop, a hard stop. So in that machlokes, Rabbi Yossi says that you don't have to stop. You don't even pour Suda. Nothing. You just keep on going weiter. Ignore Shabbos. That's machlokes here. So when it comes to Erev Shabbos, halacha Rabbi Yossi, keep on driving. Erev Pesach, halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda, that you must make a hard stop. You have to stop. You have to stop. Let's see. Says the Gemara. The Sanya, mafsikin l'shabbosos, divrei Rabbi Yehuda. When it comes the Shabbos, you have to stop. Rabbi Yossi Omer, ein mafsikin. There's a whole thing Taisa says that looks like Rabbi Yossi. You're certainly allowed to start the Suda. Okay, says the Gemara. Meiser Shim Gamliel, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi Shoyim Subim Ba'akoy. It's 3 Tanoim. We're sitting in Akoy. V'kidesh Aleim Hayoim, and suddenly it became dark. Omer Rabbi Shim Gamliel, Rabbi Yossi. Berebi. Over here it's in my Gemara says Beribi. Okay. Over here it says Berabi. Berabi by my thing. Usually it's Beribi. Beribi means Golad Dar. Says Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, Rabbi Yossi, you're the Golad Dar. Ritzon Chanasik, Benechosh L'divrei Yehuda, L'divrei Yehuda Chavereinu. Called him Yehuda, our friend. They're all three sitting there. Should we stop? Should we be considerate of Rabbi Yehuda, who holds that when Shabbos comes in, you have to stop the meal, bench, and then start all over again? This is Rabbi Yossi Bar Chalafta, the Rabbi Yossi. Amaloi, amazing stuff. B'chol yoyim v'yoyim, ata mechavev devarai lefnei Rabbi Yehuda. You always tell Rabbi Yehuda how great I am. You send them emails, the greatest, the this. V'achshav, ata mechavev divrei Rabbi Yehuda b'fonai. And all of a sudden now, you wanna tell Rabbi Yehuda that he's great in front of me?
Why wouldn't this be a Brocha Shein Tzvi if according to Rabbi Yossi you don't have to do it?
Well, anytime you have that shaila.
The closest for it is
Why according to Yehuda it's not a bracha l'tala? If you make a real stop, you make a real stop. You take, but how does that help?
I'm asking about the
If you have to stop, how does it help the bracha though? How does it help a bracha shein tzricha? You have to stop. But why is it a bracha shein tzricha? Still ain't tzricha. If it's not necessary to make the bracha now, you can just continue eating. In terms of the bracha, it's not necessary.
you have to stop.
Yeah.
It's not a Brocha Shein Tzvi.
Why not? In terms of the bracha, it's shein tzricha.
You're not allowed to continue.
Yeah.
I don't have
So,
to continue.
so then you should. That, first of all, if you started at the wrong time, you shouldn't have done this. You don't have a head to just make a bracha shein tzricha. In Hilchos brachas, do I have to make another bracha? I continue eating. The answer is because if I make a full stop, I leave the house, I take the table out, I do that. So now I have to make another bracha halachically. I don't think that the halacha of stopping the meal gives you a heter to make another bracha when you don't need to make another bracha. That doesn't give you a heter in the bracha. I think the two different halachas. You don't agree? Okay.
You always pass him like
No. The halacha is always like Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi nimuki imoy. Now, the point is, Hagam lichboishes hamalka imi babayis. Mamish yesterday, a pasuk from, Yerushalayim also, they learned it 2 days ago. This is a pasuk in the Megillah.
This might happen on Purim. That's what he said on the Rosh and Rosh and Shabbos. This might happen. That's why he says pasuk because it might happen on Purim.
Who said this?
Rabbi David said it's Rosh.
Mechatesa, where do you get it from?
I forgot who quoted it.
Rabbi David, a chashav rabbi in the neighborhood, said in his drasha that this story of Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, and Rabbi Yossi happened on Purim, and that's why they use this pasuk. I was a little upset. I was a little upset when when I learned this Gemara. Like we were saying, we started the perek, Erev Pesachim, Mamish, Shloshim Yom Kodem Chag, everything fits in, and we're finishing right before. And all of a sudden, we missed it by a day. We missed it by a day. And then the whole sugya of Paris Mappa. This is a sugya that we missed by a day. What is the pshat? Oh, I see I was mechaven to Menachem Ateh a little bit. I don't know if this is exactly what you're saying. Two pshat in my head. First of all, the Hasidim, for some reason, don't say Tachna today. So they're like machmer. Like this is, that's what somebody said on the 7th. But especially on Shiv Asar, it's part, maybe because of the suffix the Gemara in Megillah has about this day. It should have been part, I don't know. Kach shomati. But I had a better pshat, I think, that if we're going to learn now that the concept of Paris Mappa on Purim, what's the halachically, what should you do on Purim? Like we had this year, Erev Shabbos on Purim. The best way to do it is to make a suit in the morning. So make a suit in the morning. The second best way to do it is, according to Rabbi Yashiv, I think, to do a Suda Shabbos, to start Shabbos early, and you go into Shabbos. It's also very problematic. Is it Shabbos? Is it Purim? You're ready to kaved Shabbos. Some say he never said such a thing. Then Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach says, other people say, Paris Mappa. You start the Suda right before Shabbos, and you go in. Now, the problem with that is a very big problem. Halachically, it's problematic. Why? Because you're making Kiddush. Everybody makes a Bari Pri Hagafen on Purim. Right? You make Bari Pri Hagafen during the Suda. You make Hamaitzi during the Suda. Now comes Kiddush. Do you make another Bari Pri Hagafen on the wine? What do you do? Kiddush Yom is one thing. What about Bari Pri Hagafen? Kiddush, of course, you have to do. But Bari Pri Hagafen, do you make another Bari Pri Hagafen? Some say yes, because there's no hefsek. Hamaitzi, for sure, you have to make again, because the Kiddush itself, it's very interesting. The Kiddush itself is a hefsek because you can't eat bread while you're saying Kiddush. So since there's a, what? Okay, I'm saying if you don't do Prius Mappa. So, but then, okay, you have to do Prius Mappa. I saw that they say that the actual Kiddush itself. It's fine. I call upon him Va'ifin. You don't know what to do. Do you make another Bari Pri Hagafen? Do you make another Hamaitzi? Some say you have to make both. Some people say not. So Tzvi Brocha L'Kula, you're not supposed to say at all. So it's such a balagan. It's not the best idea to make a Paris Mappa on Purim. Okay, you missed Al Nisim. So, therefore, I wanted to taina that if I'm going to come up here Erev Purim and tell the Olam, it's not a good idea to do Paris Mappa. You're supposed to do in the morning. They're going to say these bunch of Litvaks, these Nebachs, they don't get drunk. They get drunk. Who eats a Suda at 10 o'clock in the morning? And they're going to ignore it. What if you're shaking? You mazidim. So we're going to say the halacha the day after Purim. So they should know the MS. And maybe if they, in 4 years from now and in 20 years from now, it happens again, by then they'll mature, they'll be Litvish, and they'll chap that that's the halacha. Okay.
All of Shas revolves around
It's all about Guy Videlio. Anyways, it was just a pshat. Otherwise, does anybody have a better pshat? How did the sugya fall out? Motzei Purim. It's unbelievable.
Obviously, that's the shot. No, clearly.
We saw Mamish Mefurish yesterday, just chap now. I don't want to throw Yossi Goldstein under the bus, that's why I'm not going to say his name. But his wife is screaming Shabbos, Shabbos, and then he's telling me in the message, I did Paris Mappa. It's those kind of people that do Paris Mappa. The Michal Shabbos. They start leaving messages. No, I'm just kidding. Chas Shalom, Yossi is a tzaddik. It's a beautiful message.
People waking up now,
Yeah.
after the Suda, because they're intoxicated, now they have to stop.
You're Chassidish. You're Shtigl Ger Chassid, of course.
Now it's Shabbos.
Hmm?
They miss Shabbos, now it's Shabbos.
Now it's Shabbos for them. Unbelievable. Okay, so you mean it's still Purim. That's what I'm saying. It's still Purim. Okay.
Tessa said not to do it. He was very
Huh?
not to do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're medaktik b'halacha, like mamish, like the, then you're not supposed to do Paris Mappa. Okay. You should just know that a lot of Yerushalmis, nothing to do with Chassidim. Huh? It's what? It says Mefurish to do the Suda before Chatzos. It's very difficult. A lot of people are, I'm going to eat meat now at 10 o'clock in the morning, this. And some people say even to finish before Chatzos. That's a whole problem. Fine. What? You know what? Oh, I know somebody did beautiful. He did a Suda before Chatzos. And then he did another Suda. He was Makabel Shabbos early, and he did the Suda like Rebbe Yashiv. So he's Yoitze like Mamish. I heard it. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Rebbe Tzion Cook says in the Rebbe Yashiv never said it. Okay. I can't wait for Yaakov Rosedale to show up here. We'll put a seder here to this little... Omer Rav Yehuda Shmuel. Omru. Oh, Omer Loi. Imkein Loi. We got to go slower. There's a little surprise on Amud Beis. Omer Loi Imkein Loi Nafsik. Let's not do a hefsek. Shema Yiru Talmidim v'yikbu halacha ledoros. I cannot try to accommodate Rabbi Yehuda, especially, says the Rashbam now, Rabbi Yossi was moicha. He made him a cha. Now if I go against Rabbi Yossi and I go like Rabbi Yehuda, now that's a problem. Then people are going to say, oh, that looks like Rabbi Yehuda. If I'm trying to give him kavod, that's not such an issue because the Talmidim will see I'm trying to be mechabed Rabbi Yehuda. We'll be machmer like Rabbi Yehuda. What's the big deal? We'll stop the Suda for a second. We'll bench. But if Rabbi Yossi says I'm makpid, Hagam lichvei shesamalki yimei b'bayis, and then you're going to do it. That's a problem. Okay. Amru lo izazim misham achakova halach Reb Yosi. They had established the doiros. There shouldn't be any issues. The halach is like Reb Yosi.
So it comes out from the sugya that halachically you could eat until Erev Shabbos.
Yeah, that's what I said yesterday. So, okay, so being that no one brought it up, I'll say it again. Halachically, since the halach is like Rabbi Yosi, and that was the halacha yesterday as well, nothing changed, you could eat, that's why I said the Hasidim, the Toyameh, are okay going all the way to Shkia, but there's a mitzvah not to. There's a mitzvah not to eat a serious meal before Shabbos so that you come in B'taiva. That doesn't go away. That's brought down la halacha. Yeah. It starts with the Leib, but still, the idea, the concept of a mitzvah of coming b'teyavayin doesn't really.
No. This is not starting to Suda at 11. This is, you're right, but beforehand, when we said, Allah of Yehuda is talking about the machlokas of whether you started before, but the other machlokas, when you started later.
Stam halach, and I showed you yesterday. Hello, when we said Rabbi Yosi Omer, look, 8 lines down from the top of Tzadik Amud Beis. Rabbi Yosi Omer oichav oilach achetechshach, and there's a tzin over there to the Shulchan Aruch. That's the halacha. Omer Rabbi Yehuda, Omer Shmuel, ein halacha loiker Rabbi Yehuda, v'loiker Rabbi Yosi. Comes along Shmuel. Shmuel contemporary with Rav. Now, the Rashba points out right away that maybe Rav is a Tana. He saddled both the Tanoik and Amoraim at the same time. But Shmuel was a little younger. He didn't have the power of a Tana. So how in the world could Shmuel come along and argue with Tanoim? Ein halacha like Rabbi Yehuda like Rabbi Yosi, ella poires mapa umekadesh. So that is option, the middle option. It's in between. You don't have to be extreme and take the table out, but you should cover the food. Cover the food, make some sort of a stop. Says the Rashbam that he's not arguing. He can't argue. He doesn't have the power to argue in Rabbi Yosi. Who is he to decide between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yosi, so to speak? Says Rashbam, he did it. The halach is like Rabbi Yosi, we pass him like Rabbi Yosi. The halach is like him. He can't argue. But he said, let's be machmir a little bit. Let's do a chumrah. I'm adding a chumrah called Pires Mapa Umekadesh. Eini v'omer Rav Tachlifa, Rav Dimi, Omer Shmuel. Keshem shemafsikim lekiddush. Rabbi, I forgot. I wanted to say this before I started. I have to say 2 thank yous at least. A bunch of thank yous for all the shalchmanas. Yesterday was this. And I said I'm going to say it in the beginning of Share. I didn't. Hopefully people got to this point. I want to thank 2 individuals. One is Eitan Ogerek for a beautiful, what is it called? A meat tray. He doesn't like calling it charcuterie because he's from Panovich and it's a meat board. How could they find you, Eitan? Come to the Daf. But people in the Chutz La'aretz, they want to order. It's a beautiful, it's very, very tasty and very beautiful. He does very nice meat boards. You know, what is it called? Yeah, but it's that overnight stuff. The beef jerky, that's right. Beef jerky and salami and all that stuff. And second, Reb Moshe Zered is also in the house, sent me a beautiful, this whole clock and a wine and a zach, and there's a bunch of beautiful shalchmanas. Your wife's also shkoyach from the sukkahs. If you ever had sukkahs, her milchik. I'm not going to talk about what happened. Okay, fine. But yishkoyach to everybody that sent shalchmanas. I really appreciate it. Omar Rav Tachlifa bar Rav Dimi Omer Shmuel. Keshem shemafsikim lekiddush. Oh, that's right. Oh, you guys, I did. No. I spoke about you guys in the Kutach. I didn't mention that I got a 600 shekel bottle. I think it was like a 600 shekel bottle of wine from these 2 clowns. Not in addition to the Kutach that made me sick. The wine was, I didn't taste it yet, but it's going to be for a special occasion. Kachma, what you want to? You know what? I'll put a picture on my porch and show the oilam and what you got me. Keshem shemafsikim lekiddush. It's unbelievable. I never knew this halacha. There is a shita, and it's actually brought down in the Shulchan Aruch as a shita, that you're supposed to stop at Avdallah. You know, like I mentioned that I used to go to the Ribnitz Rebbe and I used to do this all-nighter. When we came, we used to do Avdallah at home, and we used to rush to wherever he lived over there in Sighet, I think it was, and we got there during Mincha. You're talking about like 9 and 10 o'clock at night, he's doing Mincha on Shabbos. And then he's L'malam and Azman, and tish, the whole thing through the night. Over here it says, and we don't pass like that, but here it says, mafsikin lavdol, you have to stop. Shabbos is over. Just like when Shabbos comes in, you have to do. Shabbos is over, you have to stop. It's a shita. My mafsikin, lav lakiras shulchan. Don't you have to remove the table? Loy lemapa. It's very interesting. What do you need a mappa? What do you have to cover on Matzah Shabbos? What are you covering exactly? But why? Why do you have to cover? Hold on a second before we get to sponsors. So the question is that the Taz and the Magen Avraham bring out is that you can't eat the bread anyway. There's nothing. So we're going to see in a second why you do a paris mappa. But what's the reason here? So the actual fact that you're doing Havdalah on wine and not on bread is an embarrassment to the bread, says the Taz. So you cover him. Even though you can't eat the bread right now, but it's embarrassing that they didn't institute Havdalah on bread. And and the Magen Avraham says that at the end of the day, Hamoitzi should be before because it's in the pasuk before. Then we'll see that svara soon. Fine. Let's see Taisus for a second. Let's go back to a few lines and we'll see Taisus. Rabbi Bar Avuna ikla lebei reish gelusa. Rabbi Avuna showed up to the Beit Reish Gelusa. Aisu taka lekamei. Now, lichatchila, the way you do a suda is, you sit down, you make kiddush, and then you bring the food to you. Why? We'll see. But they did it in reverse by mistake. Aitu taka kamei, but the food was already out before kiddush. What do? Paras, mapa, v'kiddush, so he covered the food. Tanin amihachi, we also learned, she'ein mevim es hashulchan, eloim kein kiddush. First, you do kiddush, then you bring the food out. Now, Taisus points out, in those days that they had very small tables, you're bringing tables in, you bring tables out, you're removing. In our day, we don't have that. We have a large, you can't bring table in, bring table out. So you bring the food in afterwards. So let's see Taisus for a second. Taisus is a maskell, 4 Taisus in it. Says Taisus, it's a covet for Shabbos when I bring out the food, l'kovet Shabbos kodesh. I make kiddush, and then I'm bringing all this food out for Shabbos. But if the food is already there, maybe I brought out, maybe it's a Friday meal, I don't know. It's not l'kovet Shabbos. That's one reason. Second reason is, v'yesh mefarish zeichel aman. You have it? It's like where the Gemara ends. V'yesh mefarish zeichel aman. The man didn't fall on Shabbos Yom Tov. V'hoyo tal milamala umilamata v'aman beintaim. There was dew on the bottom. The man was it was a sandwich. The man was in between, and then another layer of dew, and then the sun came out, melted the dew, and then opened up the package, and we ate the man. So we have the table, we have the food, and then we cover it with a mappa. Zeichel aman. Why do we cover? The Tur brings the famous Yerushalmi. The Yerushalmi says, like we mentioned, Kidei loy levayish es alechem. The bread is going to be embarrassed. Why? Because the bread was supposed to be first. In the pasuk Eretz Chita V'Saira, it comes first before Yain. In the way the pasuk brings the Shivas Aminim, the Chita is first. So it's a busha. Why are you doing kiddush on him? Do kiddush on me? Cover. Happens to be that according to the Gain, you don't bring the bread at all to the table. Fine. So, a great maisa that I heard a long time ago, it's one of these maisas that mamash sticks, and people say it in different ways. I'll just say it the way I heard it. I know you guys heard it differently. A guy made a very, very fancy bar mitzvah. And for the bar mitzvah, the gift to all the guests was, there was a challah cover with a person's name on it. The way each person gets an embroidered thing, a beautiful thing, spend good money on it. And the caterer, the Shlomazel, forgot to put it out. He forgot to set the room with this. He spent thousands of dollars and he forgot to put it out. Comes the the Baal Simcha, and takes the caterer and says, "Are you Meshuggah? What is wrong with you? I spent all this money, and you don't have the decency to put it out. You're mamish, a no goodnik." Said the caterer to him, "Why do you need a cover for your challah? The whole reason why you need a cover for your challah is not to embarrass the bread. And here you are embarrassing me in public like that."
Deliver them all to the person's house after?
Yeah, the mice happened with me, and I was the caterer. No. Anyway, so basically we have three reasons over here. Taisus brings two, Zeichel Aman and avodas Shabbos. You bring it in. And the third one is not Levayish Salechem. A big nafkamina would be, and that's important to us, what about Shabbos morning? According to Taisus, and he ignores the whole Yerushalmi, there shouldn't be a problem really Shabbos morning. You don't have to cover the bread. There's no man, there's no Zeichel Aman, there's no, the avodas Shabbos, we're already in Shabbos. But according to Yerushalmi of Busha, there would be. So they say there's a lot of Reder in the Achrayim. I don't know, like everything else is a big machlekes, but most of the Achrayim that I saw say that if you are not tasting from the wine, you go to a kiddush, you're not tasting from the wine, then you don't have to cover the mezainis that's in front of you. It's the busha is for the guy making the brocha and his mezainis, not you. You're 3 tables away. And some people say there's no busha to pass above a kisnin. It's just cake. It's just a rugula. The busha is to the bread that you say hamoitzi on, that's beforehand in the pasuk, and not on a piece of cake. So the kids with all these things together, I don't know why we're so makbid to cover the mezainis, but there is a shita that I think I found that you should. So whatever. Everybody asks the local rabbi. We're not even going to go there. Whiskey. You know my son-in-law does vedafka. Yeah. Well, I'm a chassid, and he drinks. Yeah.
There's a minhag that when you make hamoitzi on Friday night to make it with the covering, and on Shabbos day to make it without the covering.
There's a minhag bedafka to take off the covering when you make kiddush on Shabbos morning, or you make hamoitzi. Well, that's a whole different halacha. No, why are you covering the bread b'chlal? You already make kiddush. Zeichel Aman. But Zeichel Aman in the morning. There's no Zeichel Aman in the morning. Okay. The rice is his market. One thing he doesn't do, he doesn't make kiddush in my house anymore. First Shabbos he showed up. Would you like to make kiddush? Yeah. It's too bad in the chassid. I had to do it on my son-in-law, and that was it. So he doesn't do it anymore. Once in a while he sneaks it around when I'm not there. Huh? Oh, sponsors, Yishkoch. Sponsors. Sponsored for Brocha, vehatzlacha for all the MDY team, not anybody else, just the MDY team in their everyday lives for all the hard avodas hakodesh they do. They do a lot, you should know. There's a bunch of them, and I forgot to mention, by the way, I realized, because I was saying about all the shalach manas that this group of people from New York, I still don't know who they are, but we could huh? It wasn't just New York. Who was it? A bunch of people from all over the world sent shalach manas, and I mentioned a bunch of names, but I forgot to mention they also gave Reuven Chait, and they gave Yeshua Aaron Price. So who do we have? Reuven Chait, you, Yosef Bilyak. Huh? At the time he was, before we threw him away. Then we have Noam Fix, Avi Kamiansky, Eli Stefansky, Moshe Hirsch. The two Seltzer, I call them boys, but one of them is married, Mordechai and Nehemiah Seltzer. Gary Ben Moshe. Gershon Ben Moshe, so that's 10. 10 full-fledged meals to break your fast on Motzei Tainus. It was very, very chashuv. Okay. Nice. How many? How do you know about this stuff, Mark?
Close to 100 people.
100 people? That's all I got from 100 people? What did they contribute? $1.50? No, I'm just kidding. Wow, 100 people. I was wondering, that's massive. 10 full-fledged meals. I'm serious. Trays and Zachen. Menachem Ateh was wondering if he's still on the staff or not, and he realized he's not so much on the staff. He's a year and a half. He didn't say a shir. He's not on the staff. But he's a reserve staffer. Okay. Zok the Gemara. We got to finish up. Now we're going to be late. Rabbi said, now we're going to be late. Unbelievable. What's going to be with us? Tani Chada. Shavin she'ein matchilin. Now we're going back to the machlokes between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi. There's one case that everybody agrees you don't start a meal before Shabbos. Oh, sponsored for Shlema of all Choli Yisrael, especially from our MDY family. Please consider joining the MDY Tehillim group, tehillim.8mindaf.com. Okay, there's no Kesher Nafshi anymore. We showed a picture of him. We said goodbye yesterday. There's two cases. One that everybody, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi, will agree that you could start the meal, and one that says do not start the meal. I'll tell you, that's simple. When everybody's in agreement, you don't start a meal when? Pesach. That over there, everybody agrees. It's Samach L'Mincha. You have to stop at least 3 hours before Shkia. 9 hours into the day. Who agrees? Who's in agreement? There's a machlokes like Ashia. Kan koidim tisha, kan la'achir tisha. When we are before 9 hours, meaning Rabbi Yehuda agrees that you're allowed to start. But after 9, in other words, before 9 hours into the day, Rabbi Yehuda agrees that you're allowed to start. Afterwards, there is a machlokes. Have a wonderful day. Shem Alois, Mokim Yosef Adonai. Adonai Shemo B'Koli, Eliezer Kishavez Adonai. Imam Eliezer Shemo Yad Adonai Miyamoy. Kasichol Lamanti V'Rei. Nafshi Lai Nevi Shoyim, L'Lavay Geshem Lim L'Lavay Ge. Chayisol Eladonai, Kim Adonai Chesed V'Adonai Mavdo. Hu Yivdei Yisrael B'Kol, L'Avoy Noshah.
I did give it the Brocha, that was night shirt. Now once you start
Night shirt. Night shirt counts. You're right. It does count. It's part of MDY. Yeah. We're gonna have to come back on soon. I don't know. Not night. Afternoon. It's beautiful. I got it the first time you said. What do you have to be masmeri 6 times when I'm that slow?
I had a whole big talk with people about first mappa.
What?
Doing an important.
Let me speak to these guys. What? They're saying it's not halachically correct?
No. And there's no makor for it either. No, I didn't see any Pesach.
I saw Hasidish Rav. I saw Rabbi Weinberg in Far Rockaway, in the Five Towns. He's Hasidish. And he was giving Musar about it. He says, why do you have to be shikr going into Shabbos? You should take a good shower. What? It's not about the soilulos. He was going on and on and on.
I haven't seen anyone that says it's a tefillah thing to do.
I'm sure it's not a...
Like even other farms that bring it, I don't know.
Don't let me go. It's the ADD, you can't follow.
What did I miss? What am I missing here? I'm missing something. Fill me in.
How many people can take a daf this short and turn it into a 45?
You know how hard it is?
It's a wunder.
You know how difficult? I'm serious. I woke up shaking this morning thinking about today's daf. You think it's a joke?
I come up with good stories, good garage stories. No, it's amazing.
It's a talent. And when did I finish? 8:00 on the dot. Not a second later. And I didn't, hello, Dr. Listhouse, I didn't finish the daf. We still owe a little bit tomorrow. The last few lines we had a rush. It was double speed.
It's a talent. It takes time to make fun of everybody. I mean, you're unmasked Ashkenazi. Next year we should say send you a gebrut and a katz. It's a roast cat. Whenever we used to come home from yeshiva and we'd say, Mom, what's for dinner? She goes, I made you a gebrut and a katz.
I give brut in the cards. But once in Hebron, once a cat jumped into the chont and actually got gebrutten in the chont. And the Arab took it out and they served the chont, they say.